Hey guys, it's Ella and welcome to today's video. Sorry I wasn't here last week and I wasn't here last Tuesday. I forgot the day of the week for a second. It's a long story. If you want to know why I wasn't here, go look at my Instagram. The link is in the description. Today's video, if it'll let me film and upload it, is going to be a story time. If you've read the title, you would know that I was an idiotic kid and I once broke my arm. In order to tell this story, I'm going to have to kind of rush it. I'm going to have to give you a little bit of backstory before I rush into it, because if I film this over 10 minutes, YouTube gets mad at me and tells me that I can't upload it. So, yeah. Okay, backstory. I was about 10 or 11 when this happened. I don't quite know my age because I have a weird birthday. So, it was the summer before my birthday, so I was either 10 or 11. My parents were separated at this point, so my dad was not living with us. My sister Melissa was dating her now husband James. So when you hear me say her boyfriend or her boyfriend James, that's because at the time that this happened, they were only dating. And at the time that this happened, my aunt, uncle, and cousins were living 3 houses down from where I was. So, now that you've got a little bit of backstory and you know that it was summer and all of that, I'm going to get into this stupid, ridiculous story of how I broke my arm. Anyways, so I used to spend a lot of time at my cousin's house during the summer because, well, they were just more interesting than my house was for some stupid reason. So I used to walk down to their house, and when this particular day happened, my mom was actually leaving to go hang out with a friend of hers. So, I know that my mom's going to comment this. She claims that she told me not to hang out on my cousin's trampoline. Not to bounce on it, not to do anything. You kind of know where I'm going with this. If you do, don't jump ahead. Just let me explain it. She will claim that she told me not to get on the trampoline. I will explain that I don't remember her ever saying that. Ever. I remember her saying it like weeks before this happened, but I don't remember her saying it that particular day. So, in her mind, she said it to me on that particular day. Then she left to go hang out with her friend. So, my sisters, Erin and Melissa, walked me down to they walked down to the end of the driveway and then watched me walk down to my cousin's house. So, the main cousin of this story, we're going to call her Lynn. That's not her actual name, but that's what we're going to call her. She is, I want to say, 3-4 years younger than me. So at this time, I was 10 or 11. So she would have been 6, 7, 8, around there. I don't do math, okay? I'm creative. I don't need math. So I walked down to their house. Me and Lynn start playing, and we watched her brother play a bunch of video games, and then we went and hung out with like her Barbies and her toys and stuff like that, and we watched a episode of something. And then Lynn had the brilliant idea, let's go out and play on the trampoline because we have it, so let's use it. So that's what we did. Me and her went out and we went to play on the trampoline, and her brother just was in the house with his mom and dad, with my aunt and uncle. And the backyard of my neighborhood at the time was kind of weird, especially was kind of weird because it kind of tilted downwards because we had a creek or whatever you want to call it, a creek in our backyards. At least my side of the neighborhood did. So all of the backyards sort of like flat, and then they'd swoop, except for my cousin's yard. They had a really weird yard where it would sloop and then flatten and then sloop and then flatten, and yes, I like the word sloop. So the way that they had their trampoline was set up was kind of terrifying. It was stupid on us kids' part for going to play on it, and kind of dumb on my aunt and uncle's part, because the way that they had, no offense to my aunt and uncle, but the way that they had the trampoline set up was that it was right in like this corner of their yard, right next to the creek. It sounds a little dumb and a little dangerous, but Us kids didn't care. We just played on it, and we tried to do our best to play on it safely, but this time we were just stupid. And they did take the trampoline down after this happened, okay? None of us kids were allowed to go on it. But before you start assuming, I didn't fall down the creek, okay? I just want to say that. But the position of where the trampoline was is important. Because in their backyard, they had, like, a bunch of bushes, and then they put the trampoline, like, in between a split between two of the bushes, so that it was kind of, like, held straight up. So, rambling. Me and Lynn we're jumping on the trampoline, and we're doing stupid stuff. And this is the kind of trampoline that didn't, like, come with a safety net. You know how most of them come with a safety net now? This is the kind of trampoline that didn't come with a safety net. So we were jumping around, and we were being stupid, and I start to feel like I'm losing my balance. Like, when I'm jumping, I'm starting to feel like I'm losing my balance. So I told Lynn to stop jumping so that I could gain my balance, because in my head, if I was going to fall, I wanted to fall forward onto the trampoline instead of fall backwards into the bushes or down the creek. So she, being the annoying little kid that she was, I love her so much, but she didn't listen to anybody at this point. So, being the annoying, I don't have to listen to anybody, 6, 7, 8-year-old that she was, she didn't stop jumping. So, I start to feel like I'm falling backwards. I don't remember what happened. Like, 1 second, I'm falling backwards, and the next second, I'm in the grass. So a few years back, my sister Erin had asked Lynn what exactly had happened. Like, after the fact and everything, because nobody really knew what had happened, like how I broke my arm or anything. And the way that Lynn explained it was that when I fell backwards, I tried to catch myself on the bushes. And when I did that, I started to turn. You know how cats, when they fall, they will flip themselves around and catch themselves before running off or whatever? Well, that's what she said that I tried to do. But all I remember is that 1 second I'm falling backwards, I put my hands out, and then the next second I'm laying on my side like this. And I don't remember, I completely blacked that out. I don't even know what happened. Like, I can picture myself turning to fall, but I don't remember what exactly happened. I don't have a first-person point of view of what happened. But after I fell, Lynn headed into the house to get her mom, and, like, she ran. Like, that little chick ran. I, on the other hand, had to climb through a spider's web, which was my biggest concern at the time. I had to climb through a spider's web out from under the trampoline, because the way that I had fallen was I hit the bushes, then I hit the ground, and I was right between two of the trampoline legs, so I had to crawl out from under it. So that's what I did. My aunt came out, she checked me over. I didn't have any scratches, I didn't have any bruises. All I kept saying was that my arm hurt, and yes, it's this arm, my right arm, which is my dominant arm, by the way. All I kept saying was that my arm hurt, my arm hurt, my arm hurt. So she got me an ice pack, like a little small one, to lean on my arm so I could calm down. Like, I was crying and everything, and I sat on their front porch for about 10, 15 minutes maybe, with an ice pack, trying to stop crying. After I did stop crying, I called my sister, and I believe I called Erin. Because for some reason, Melissa's the oldest of the three of us, but for some stupid reason, every time I do something stupid, I call Erin first. I don't know why. But I called Erin. Her and Melissa met me halfway from my aunt and uncle's house and then walked me back to the house. Now, here's where it gets a little weird, because instead of going, straight to the hospital, we decided that we were going to wait and see if my arm would stop hurting. So I sat... Like, the sun was setting when I fell. So I sat in my living room for about an hour, maybe an hour and a half, talking to my dad. And he just kept saying, if your arm still hurts after you take the ice off, then I'll drive out and we'll take you to the hospital. My mom, on the other hand, for some reason, her phone either wasn't notifying her that she was getting phone calls and texts, or she didn't have any service, because she didn't answer her phone. I think that she didn't have any service. I believe that's what she said. because when she got home, her phone blew up. So I sit for like an hour and a half, and my mom comes home, and the first thing she says is, "What did you do?" Because I'm sitting on the couch with a slightly pink face, with a giant gallon Ziploc bag of nothing but ice that my sister's boyfriend, that Melissa's boyfriend James, got me. Like, he made me. So my mom comes home, I explain what happened. She sort of like laughed it off because we didn't really think that there was anything wrong, because I'm the type of kid who used to do a lot of stupid stuff, fall, and then walk away with no issue. So I'm thinking of other memories. So me and my mom move into the living room, and I took the ice pack off, and my arm started to hurt once the coldness started to fade. I told my mom that, and she goes, "Okay, well, what I want you to do is I want you to lift your arm." So I tried to lift my arm, and I could only get it like, I don't know if you can see, but I could only get my arm like up like this, without help from my other hand. Like, when I would do this, and my mom would tell me, "Do it without your other hand." So I tried, and I couldn't get my arm up. So she goes, "Okay, we'll get your dad and we'll go to the hospital." But just as she said that, Melissa called James back and was like, "You got to take her to the hospital. You got to take the annoying little sister to the hospital." So, so James comes back, we get in his little red car, and we drive to the hospital, and my dad meets us there. And, I keep pausing. Anyways, fast forward through all of the waiting room and crap. The doctor kept telling my mom that I probably didn't break my arm, I probably didn't fracture my arm, I probably didn't do anything at all, it just hurt. My mom said, "Do an x-ray." So, that same doctor didn't want to call my mom over after they looked at the x-ray. Like, full-blown didn't want to call my mom over. So he called my dad over, who then brought me and my mom. Come to find out, I fractured my arm. Moving on. So what they did was, because it was a fracture, I'll explain the fracture in a minute, but because it was a fracture, they didn't give me a cast, they gave me a sling. And they told me to sit at a 90-degree angle with my arm at a 90-degree angle for 4 to 6 weeks, I believe. I didn't listen to that at all. I'm going to tell you this right now. I played baseball with my cousins, and I would sleep in some funky frickin' positions with my arm in a sling. And I would take my arm out of the sling to get coffee or tea or whatever. But the kind of fracture that I have is hilarious to me, because they call it a buckle fracture. Now, if you've had a buckle fracture before, you know what it is. But for those of you who don't know what a buckle fracture is, here's the funny part. When I turned to catch myself when I fell, your arm kind of sits like this. I'm going to give you this example. This is your shoulder. This is your actual arm. This part of my arm went up into my shoulder and was sitting like this. So their way of fixing it was having me sit in a sling to keep my arm somewhat straighter, to make sure that I didn't actually break it all the way through. So a couple weeks passed, we go to the hospital again, my arm's healed, I don't have to sit with a sling. Thankfully, I didn't have to go to school with that sling on, because I'm pretty sure that if I had, I'd have lost my mind. But, excuse me, that's the end of the story. It was a little lame. I'm over the 10-minute mark, so I don't have an idea if this is actually going to work. My phone's dying. I'm going to go. I'm rambling. This video's done. Bye, guys.